Psychology from the College of Education, Criminal Justice, and Human Services here at UC. Ben has extensive experience as a physical therapist. He has worked in a variety of settings as a traveling PT, and currently he is working at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center as an acute care therapist specializing in cardiopulmonary rehabilitation. In addition, Ben is an adjunct faculty member in the Department of Rehabilitation Sciences. He teaches one of the very first courses the students take in the summer of their first year in the program. He also teaches one of the final courses the students take in their last year of the program, so he gets to observe the growth and development of our students as they progress through the program. So Ben has some unique teaching methods that he uses that seem to get the students very inspired, and he is a very popular instructor and was chosen by the students to be the speaker tonight. So we are honored to have Ben speak to us this evening.
Thank you guys for having me speak today. I want to say congratulations to all of you as you begin the clinical phase of this journey. I'm going to start tonight by telling you a story, as I like to do in class. This is a story about Jeff. I met Jeff many years into my practice as a physical therapist, but the interactions that I had with him provided for me an insight into what it means to actually be a clinician. So I met Jeff in September. I met Jeff after he had a massive heart attack. The whole left side of his heart wasn't working, and he wasn't supposed to survive. Jeff needed a heart transplant, but it takes a long time to get on the list to have a transplant. So there's a device that we can give a patient that helps their heart pump, and he had that surgery, which is a very big surgery. It typically takes about a month to work up to the surgery, but because of the severity of his illness, he waited only 1 day. I got to work with Jeff for about 2.5 months in the ICU. This was his first admission of many. He was so weak that for the first 2 weeks of our treatments, we mostly worked on doing ankle pumps, right? Because you can't be wrong with ankle pumps. I taught his wife how to help him complete his range of motion exercises. And what I found out is that Jeff really, really liked to talk. He and I got along. It wasn't long before we discovered that I had recently visited a winery near his hometown while I was on my honeymoon. After about 2 weeks, I got Jeff to sit on the edge of the bed. And he didn't do well. He liked to fall over a lot. Most of the time I would have to crawl into the bed, kneel on the bed, and let him lean his whole body against me just so he could take a rest break. But I was able to help his wife to shave his face while he was taking his rest breaks. So his wife really got to be a part of the treatment. He did decide to keep his mustache because, as we know, mustaches are very distinguished. He told me that his goal was to visit his hometown again after he recovered, and he had strong opinions about the winery I visited, and he promised to bring me a bottle of his favorite wine after he got better. 3 weeks after surgery, I was able to get him to stand for 30 seconds. If I can paint a picture of what this looks like, I'm 5'7". Jeff was 6'7". So, what this actually looked like is when he would get fatigued, he would wrap me in a big bear hug, and he would yell to me, "Don't drop me, don't drop me." By this time, football was in full swing, and Jeff tried to teach me the correct way to cheer for his New York Jets. But I'm not a Jets fan, and I don't think I was ever able to match his level of enthusiasm. So we go forward a little bit, 5 weeks after surgery. It was the first time that Jeff walked. We made it 5 feet. Jeff cried. It was also about the time that his balance was good enough that he could give his wife a hug, and she cried. 8 weeks after treatment, our focus was now moved to teaching his wife how to take care of him at home, how to get in and out of the shower, how to get in and out of the car. Jeff started to talk a lot about how blessed he was, how lucky he felt to be alive, and how hopeful he was for a heart transplant. And finally, 10 weeks after I met Jeff, we had a care team meeting with his wife and all the physicians, and we said it's time for Jeff to go home. He made it home for Christmas, and before he left, he told me he was feeling great and that I would get my bottle of wine very soon. So as we think about that, as you, as students, think about what it's like when you enter a patient's room. You've got a lot of goggles on, right? There are a lot of lenses that you are looking through. You've got this lens of anatomy, physiology. What's the diagnosis? Do I have all of my interview skills? What kind of mobility techniques do I have to use? Hopefully not a 3-person dependent lift. What are my therapy goals? What kind of balance activities do I need? And then you've got your clothes, right? Your lab coats, your scrubs. You're truly in work mode. It is important that when we look through these layers of lenses, all these goggles, it can be difficult to see the patient for who he or she is. When we have so much going on, it's easy to focus on the diagnosis and not the patient. More traditional frameworks of caring for patients in the hospital are based on this. We might base the treatment on the location in the hospital the patient is in, their illness, what diagnostic tests they've had done. And I've seen some hospitals that are system-centered, where it's an assembly line for getting patients in and out the door. The framework that my hospital uses, and that I want you to consider and think about when you're on your clinicals, is a patient and family-centered care model. It's very prevalent in the nursing literature, and it's being more and more accepted in our field. There are four core concepts that I want you to remember. The first is you have to have dignity and respect for the knowledge, values, and beliefs of your patient to be able to understand and accept the patient's history and background without judgment. You need to be able to share information with your patient that is useful, unbiased, and affirming. We need the patient and the family to be a part of the decision-making process. You should encourage participation of the family in your patient's care. Incorporate them as much as you can to their level of comfort. And collaboration. I think we forget this a lot of times, that we need to include past patients in the development and evaluation of new programs and policies that are focused on the delivery of patient care. These concepts may sound simple, and maybe they sound like things that should be common sense, but remember that healthcare is hectic. Patients are not always logical, and family dynamics can be strained when a loved one is ill. You can also think about patient and family-centered care as a stool with 3 legs. When all the legs have the same length, the stool is balanced and it works. If we think about the patient care as having 3 legs, one is you, one is the patient, and one is their family. If we can keep in mind that each component is equally important, we can achieve balance and deliver very, very good care. So Jeff was admitted again at the end of January. He had been home for about a month, and his body had started to have trouble adjusting to the pump. He had started to develop an infection. But I would get to spend 2 more months with Jeff, helping to improve his mobility, teaching his wife the safest way to get him to and from the bathroom. And the thing that really struck me, that makes me remember Jeff all the time, is that I had a number of students following me through the hospital. Med students, physical therapy students. And I would bring him into the room and I would start to explain his procedure and the equipment. And Jeff said to me, wait, who's the expert here? Who's got this thing? I'll tell them all they need to know. This became one of his favorite things to do, to teach med students and PT students about his condition from his hospital bed. He actually told me that if he was going to do all the work of teaching, I would have to buy the wine. His body started to have a harder time fighting the infection. His last 2 weeks in the hospital, he was too sick to get out of bed. So he went back to doing ankle pumps, range of motion for his legs. He eventually slipped into a coma. We had a meeting with his wife. We talked about his prognosis. And as a team, we made a decision. Jeff passed away a few days later. A month later, I got a card in my mailbox at work. It was from Jeff's wife. She thanked me for my part in helping him get better. And she specifically thanked me for allowing them to share one more Christmas morning and one more anniversary dinner. It was then I truly realized how powerful patient and family-centered care is. I want to end this with a challenge for you. I talked earlier about the lenses, all those goggles that you have on when you go in to see your patient. and it can distort your view of the patient as you are learning to be great clinicians. So I challenge you to begin every patient interaction by taking the goggles off for a minute. Look at your patient as a person, as a family member, and as a member of the care team. Thank you.